Main JoJos are known to have powerful stands, and for good reason, as for most of the time they are the main focus of their specific part, who engage in the most action, and although I'm all for a weaker stand ability being used in a smart way to defeat a stronger opponent, there's just nothing like two overpowered stands beating the shit out of each other. Giorno Giovanna's Gold Experience Requiem and Johnny Joestar's Tusk, specifically Act 4, are by far some of the most powerful stands to ever exist, if not the strongest. Although their abilities really aren't similar in any way, I still thought it would be interesting to see how their abilities compare in terms of combat and utility, and just which stand's ability is more absolute. Also, I know you guys have been asking this one for a while now. So to kick off this standoff, the first stand we'll be looking at is Giorno's Gold Experience Requiem. Gold Experience Requiem, otherwise known as GER, is of course the evolution of Gold Experience after being pierced by the Requiem arrow. And as we know, Requiem stands gain very situational abilities, as their ability will be based off what the stand user wants most in the exact moment that the stand is pierced, but of course in an over-the-top and bizarre way. So for Giorno, someone who wanted nothing more than to defeat Diavolo and become the new mob boss of Passione, was granted a stand to ensure his victory and status for the rest of his life. Simply, Gold Experience Requiem's ability is to set anything back to the point of 0, removing the effect from the cause, which can be seen as the opposite of Diavolo's ability to erase the cause but have the effect remain, as Gold Experience Requiem was able to completely nullify King Crimson's erased time. The effect in motion almost appears that its ability is to rewind time, as the blood thrown into Giorno's eyes begins to retract back into Diavolo's hand, and the bullets fired by Mista are restored and they return back into the gun, even reversing Mista's shooting motion. But this is to show the stand's ability of resetting everything to the point of 0. So even when Gold Experience Requiem kills someone, they are set into an infinite loop of death, infinitely returning someone to the point of 0. So with this ability, Giorno is untouchable, and anyone who tries to go against him will have their actions reset to 0 and even have the possibility of suffering the same fate as Diavolo. It's really the most absolute form of defense seen from a stand yet. And even the fear alone of people knowing what this stand does can be enough to ensure his safety. And along with Gold Experience Requiem's essentially unbeatable ability, it still retains all of its previous abilities, which, as we know, Gold Experience has one of the best stands for utility in the entire series. So to summarize, Gold Experience Requiem can give life to any object and can remove the effect from any cause, making Giorno invincible. It was also stated by Gold Experience Requiem itself that Giorno doesn't even know what the stand is fully capable of, implying how absolute and incomprehensible the capabilities of the stand's abilities are. As for GER's stand stats, they are all none. I think this is because Araki just wanted to show how different Gold Experience Requiem is from every other stand and how its power is just unmeasurable. So that is Giorno's Requiem, but now on to the next stand going up against Gold Experience Requiem, and that is the final evolution of Johnny's stand, Tusk Act 4. During the climax of Steel Ball Run, Johnny evolves his stand to its 4th act with the help of Gyro's 5th spin lesson, the Super Spin. This technique of using your horse's rotational energy, which creates a golden rectangle along with Tusk, allows Johnny to control the infinite rotation that manifests as Tusk Act 4. So in contrast to Gold Experience Requiem's ability of 0, Tusk has the ability of infinity. But what Tusk can actually do with that power of infinity is forcing its way through multiple dimensions and universes, and even influencing gravity. But when a target is actually hit by one of Johnny's nail bullets with the infinite rotation, Tusk causes every individual cell of the target's body to spin infinitely, and gravitating the person back to the original spot that they were attacked. This was seen when Johnny attacked Funny Valentine, and even when Valentine used D4C to move between different universes, in the different universes he would still be dragged to that universe's equivalent of where he was hit, showing that Tusk's ability is able to travel between dimensions. Similar to Gold Experience Requiem, Tusk is able to nullify other abilities to an extent, as we've seen he's able to break through Love Train when using it with D4C, and even move within the frozen time. So Tusk is not completely nullifying the abilities, rather he's just not being affected by them or disregarding them. But unlike Gold Experience Requiem, Tusk Act 4 cannot be used all of the time. It can only be used when Johnny has immense rotational energy from either a steel ball or a horse to activate the infinite rotation. So to simplify Tusk Act 4, it can spin any object or person infinitely, break through different dimensions, disregard abilities like time stop, and create a gravitational force. But Tusk Act 4 specifically does not have the abilities of Tusk Act 1 through 3, but of course Johnny can change between the different acts depending on what ability he needs at the time. It's just he cannot always be in Act 4 and not use all of the abilities in the same act. And as for Tusk Act 4's stand stats, it has an A in destructive power, a B in speed, an A in range, A in durability, B in precision, and E in development potential. The reason why it has an E in development potential is because the stand has reached its final evolution and it has no more room to develop. So now that we've looked at each of these stands' abilities, which is better, or just in general, which is the greater stand? It would be easy to say that Gold Experience Requiem is the greater stand because it makes its user invincible, it can nullify anything, and although that is true, Gold Experience Requiem can't do everything. GER is not an action stand, but rather a reaction stand. Really, the only ability it gained was being able to stop other people's actions and abilities, but not being able to initiate anything itself, except for, of course, its previous abilities before evolving. When Tusk, on the other hand, is all about facing opponents' abilities head-on and using its own ability to cause an effect infinitely, instead of removing the effect and resetting to 0. But of course, Tusk is nowhere near the defensive capabilities of Gold Experience Requiem. In fact, it really doesn't have any, as Johnny has been shot multiple times while Tusk Act 4 is activated, and Diego was even able to use Tusk's infinite rotation on Johnny. He did this by simply cutting off his own leg that Johnny used the infinite rotation on, and having that severed leg make contact with Johnny. And at the time, Johnny wasn't even able to stop it because he wasn't on a horse. And in order to stop the infinite rotation, you need to use another rotation of equal value, but in the opposite direction to balance them out. So although Tusk Act 4 can do a lot of amazing things like dimensional access and spinning things to infinity, when it comes to its requirements to activate and the lack of its defensive capabilities, it falls short in comparison to Gold Experience Requiem. So for that reason, I'm going to have to say that Gold Experience Requiem is the superior stand and wins today's episode of Standoff, which is painful to say because of how much I love Tusk. And as for if Giorno and Johnny were to fight, I think it would turn out a little something like this. Even infinity can be set back to 0. So that was today's episode of Standoff. Gold Experience Requiem versus Tusk Act 4, two of the most powerful stands in all of JoJo, if not the most powerful. So although I myself think Gold Experience Requiem is the superior stand, there's always a card in the top right where you guys can vote on which stand you think is better. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed or if I fought your boredom for a little bit. Subscribe for more videos, and I'm always taking standoff requests down below in the comments section. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.